Disclaimer: the information provided in this video is strictly for educational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute legal, financial, or professional business advice. Building an email list, digital marketing, and business development involve inherent variables, and individual results will vary based on effort, market conditions, and strategy. We are not attorneys or financial advisors. Any discussion of potential outcomes, historical trends, or case studies should not be interpreted as a guarantee of future success or income. You must conduct your own thorough due diligence, consult with licensed professionals regarding compliance with United States privacy laws such as the CAN-SPAM Act, and assume all responsibility for the operational and financial risks associated with your business decisions. Proceeding with the strategies discussed is entirely at your own discretion. Social media is a rented apartment, and the landlord is about to evict you. Let us look at a terrifying historical trend that has wiped out entire companies over the last decade. In recent years, countless American entrepreneurs have woken up to a digital nightmare. Imagine spending 4 years meticulously crafting a social media presence, amassing hundreds of thousands of followers, and generating a consistent, reliable revenue stream that supports your family, pays your employees, and funds your operations. Then, on a random Tuesday, an algorithm update rolls out in Silicon Valley. Without any warning, your organic reach drops by 90%. Your posts, which used to garner thousands of interactions and drive massive traffic to your storefront, are suddenly invisible. Or worse, your account is flagged by an automated bot for a completely benign comment, and you are permanently locked out. There is no customer service number to call. There is no appeal process that does not involve screaming into the digital void of automated forms. Your business, your livelihood, was entirely dependent on a platform you did not own, control, or govern. You built a mansion on someone else's land, and they just decided to bulldoze it. This is not a hypothetical scenario. This is the reality of the digital landscape right now. Relying solely on third-party platforms to communicate with your audience is one of the most dangerous vulnerabilities an entrepreneur can have. Yet, millions of American small business owners continue to pour all of their resources into chasing viral trends on land they do not own. Now, consider the alternative. Consider an asset that is completely algorithm-proof. An asset that allows you to reach your audience directly, straight into their personal inbox, precisely when you want to, without paying a toll to a tech giant or hoping an algorithm decides to show your content today. I am talking about an email list. I know exactly what you are thinking. You have heard the tired refrain that email is a relic of the early 2000s, that nobody reads newsletters anymore, and that younger demographics only consume short-form video. That is the exact narrative your competitors are buying into, and it is the exact reason why mastering email right now gives you an unparalleled competitive advantage. Let us look at the data. Historical trends consistently demonstrate that email marketing generates a return on investment that dwarfs every single social media platform combined. We are looking at potential outcomes where every dollar invested in email marketing has historically yielded an average return of $36 to $42. But here is the catch, and it is a massive one. Building an email list from absolute scratch in the United States today is fundamentally different than it was even 5 years ago. American consumers are ruthlessly protective of their inbox space. Their attention spans are fragmented, their spam filters are highly aggressive, and they are experiencing unprecedented levels of digital fatigue. Furthermore, strict regulatory frameworks dictate exactly how you can and cannot communicate with them. If you attempt to use outdated, aggressive, or non-compliant tactics, you will not just fail. You will damage your brand reputation, trigger spam traps, and potentially face severe penalties. So, how do you bridge the gap? How do you go from zero contacts, zero influence, and zero email revenue to possessing a highly engaged, responsive list of American consumers who actively anticipate your messages and eagerly purchase your products? There is a hidden architecture to a successful email ecosystem, a specific sequence of psychological triggers and technical setups that separates the thriving businesses from the digital casualties. We are about to uncover that exact architecture. Throughout this extensive masterclass, we are going to dissect the precise methodology required to build your email list from scratch in the United States, utilizing highly effective, compliant, and modern strategies. This is not a surface-level overview or a collection of vague theories. We are going deep into the mechanics of audience acquisition, lead generation, and relationship cultivation. The problem we are solving for you today is the absolute vulnerability of relying on rented digital space. we are going to transform your business model from one of passive hope into one of active control and ownership. We will start by deconstructing the psychology of the modern American consumer. Why do they subscribe? More importantly, why do they unsubscribe? We will examine case studies of compelling lead magnets that actually convert, moving far beyond the generic and completely ineffective subscribe to our newsletter forms that plague the internet. You will learn how to engineer high-value ethical bribes, such as proprietary calculators, exclusive video training series, and deeply researched industry reports that your specific target audience finds utterly irresistible. We will delve into the critical technical infrastructure you need to establish before you ever collect a single email address. This includes selecting the right service provider that ensures high deliverability rates, understanding the nuances of domain reputation, and implementing crucial authentication protocols. We will educate you on the historical importance of setting up your sender policy framework, domain keys identified mail, and domain-based message authentication, reporting, and conformance. If these protocols are ignored, major inbox providers like Gmail and Yahoo will automatically route your messages to the junk folder, completely unseen by your target demographic. We will explore organic and paid traffic generation strategies tailored specifically for the US market, detailing how to leverage your existing networks, optimize your website architecture for maximum conversion, and utilize content marketing to drive high-intent visitors directly to your opt-in pages. We will also extensively cover the legal landscape, providing educational insights into the CAN-SPAM Act and exactly what it means for your daily operations. You will understand the vital difference between single and double opt-ins, how to manage your list hygiene to maintain peak deliverability, and the exact language required in your footers to remain compliant and respectful of your subscribers' rights. Finally, we will blueprint the crucial first interaction, the welcome sequence. This is the exact moment a subscriber decides whether you are a trusted resource or just another piece of digital clutter. We will break down the structural elements of a welcome campaign that builds immediate rapport, establishes your unshakable authority in your niche, and gently transitions a cold prospect into an engaged community member. By the conclusion of this entire series, you will possess a comprehensive step-by-step roadmap to not only start your list, but to aggressively scale it into your most valuable business asset. You will understand how to immunize your revenue against the unpredictable whims of social media algorithms. This is about securing your operational independence and building an impenetrable moat around your business. And how to immunize your revenue against the unpredictable whims of social media algorithms. This is about securing your operational independence and building an impenetrable moat around your business. The very first step in constructing this moat is understanding the psychology of the modern inbox. In 2026, the American consumer views their email inbox as a highly protected sanctuary. Imagine if a stranger walked up to your front door, bypassed the doorbell, walked straight into your living room, and started aggressively shouting about a product you never asked for. That is exactly how an unsolicited, low-value email feels to a consumer today. To gain entry into that digital sanctuary, a fundamental transaction must occur. We call this the value exchange protocol. You are asking an individual for a piece of personally identifiable information. In return, you must offer an immediate, tangible, and overwhelmingly disproportionate amount of value. Let us be brutally honest right now. The phrase "subscribe to our newsletter" is completely dead. Case studies across various industries show that generic opt-in forms promising weekly updates yield conversion rates of less than 0.5%. Nobody wants another newsletter taking up precious digital space. They want immediate solutions to their specific, painful problems. Let us look at a historical trend through the lens of a specific case study. Meet Marcus, an independent hardware retailer and consultant based in Ohio. For years, Marcus had a pop-up on his e-commerce website that simply asked visitors to join the mailing list for company news and occasional discounts. He collected perhaps 5 to 10 email addresses a month, mostly from people who immediately unsubscribed after using a coupon code. Then, Marcus completely shifted his strategy to a high-value lead magnet approach. He understood that his target audience, which consisted of local DIY enthusiasts and professional contractors, profoundly struggled with accurately estimating raw material costs for complex home renovations. Marcus hired a developer to create a simple but highly effective automated project cost calculator. He changed his entire website architecture to highlight this tool. The new opt-in simply asked visitors to download the proprietary 2026 Ohio Contractor Material Cost Calculator to prevent massive budget overruns on their next physical build. The potential outcomes of this shift were immediate and staggering. His conversion rate skyrocketed from less than 1% to over 9%. He was no longer asking his audience for a favor. He was providing an indispensable, highly specific tool that solved a massive pain point. Within 6 months, Marcus built a highly responsive list of over 4,000 targeted local buyers who viewed him as an industry authority, not just a retailer. What makes a lead magnet actually work in the highly competitive US market today? It must solve one specific problem, for one specific avatar, and deliver a quick win within 5 minutes of consumption. Let us break down the most effective formats based on recent historical trends and consumer behavior data. The first highly effective format is the microcourse or video series. Consumers highly value what they can immediately see and hear. If you run a consulting firm or a service-based business, do not just offer a generic text document. Offer a 3-day video masterclass delivered exclusively via email. This creates immediate habituation. You are actively training the subscriber to open their inbox, look for your specific sender name, and consume your content every single day. The second format is the actionable template or swipe file. Imagine if you are a graphic designer or a marketing agency trying to attract small business clients. Offering a downloadable file containing 10 plug-and-play marketing templates for local restaurants provides instant gratification. They download the asset, they use the asset immediately to save hours of work, and they instantly associate that massive time-saving value with your specific brand. The third format is the deep dive industry data report. If you operate in the business-to-business sector, proprietary data is your most powerful weapon. Business owners are constantly seeking a competitive edge. Compiling a hyper-specific report, such as consumer spending habits in the Texas real estate market for 2026, positions you as the ultimate, undeniable authority in that geographical and professional niche. However, conceptualizing and creating the magnet is only 20% of the actual battle. The other 80% lies in the frictionless technical delivery of that asset. You must meticulously engineer the user experience to be completely seamless. When an American consumer enters their email address, they expect the promised asset to be sitting in their inbox within 60 seconds. If it takes 10 minutes, or if it lands in the promotions tab, you have already lost their attention and their trust. This requires setting up precise automated delivery triggers within your email service provider. Imagine if someone opted in for your highly anticipated fitness guide, but due to a broken automation sequence, they never received the actual document. 3 days later, they automatically receive your standard promotional email trying to sell them a high-ticket coaching package. The psychological disconnect is massive and destructive. They will instantly hit the spam button, and in the eyes of major inbox providers, your sender reputation takes a severe, sometimes irreversible hit. Now, we must discuss the critical balance between friction and qualification in your opt-in process. A common debate among digital marketers is whether to ask for just an email address to maximize volume, or to ask for a first name, last name, phone number, and company revenue size to maximize lead quality. Extensive historical data shows an inverse relationship between the number of form fields and the overall conversion rate. Every additional field you require a user to fill out can reduce your potential opt-ins by up to 15%. However, there is a massive strategic caveat here. If your primary goal is to generate high-ticket leads for a complex, expensive service, adding intentional friction can actually serve as a powerful filtration mechanism. By requiring a name and a specific business challenge in the opt-in form, you actively deter freebie seekers and only capture highly qualified prospects who are genuinely invested in solving their problem and have the potential budget to hire you. This brings us to the underlying concept of the ethical bribe. You are offering something so incredibly valuable that the prospect feels almost obligated to pay attention to your brand. This triggers the deeply ingrained psychological principle of reciprocity. When you give a consumer a massive, unexpected win up front, historical trends indicate they are exponentially more likely to reciprocate by opening your future broadcast emails, clicking your internal links, and eventually purchasing your core offers. But how do you ensure that your ethical bribe does not just attract an audience of digital hoarders who only want free things and will never actually spend a single dollar with your company? How do you architect your initial lead magnet so that it naturally and inevitably leads the consumer directly to your paid product or service without feeling like a deceptive bait and switch? The answer lies in the concept of the incomplete solution, a highly advanced psychological trigger that seamlessly bridges the gap between free upfront value and long-term paid engagement. But understanding exactly how to engineer this incomplete solution requires a deep, uncompromising dive into the architecture of your specific sales funnel, which is exactly the framework we are going to dissect meticulously next. To engineer this incomplete solution requires a deep, uncompromising dive into the architecture of your specific sales funnel, which is exactly the framework we are going to dissect meticulously next. The incomplete solution is widely misunderstood by novice marketers who mistakenly believe it means providing low-quality information or intentionally holding back the core value of a lead magnet. This is a fatal flaw that will instantly destroy your credibility. A true incomplete solution delivers massive, undeniable value by completely solving one very specific micro-problem, which naturally and logically exposes a much larger macro problem that your paid product or service resolves. You give them the what and the why for free, but the fastest, easiest, or most customized how is reserved for your premium offer. Alternatively, you solve step 1 of their journey so perfectly that they immediately realize they need your help with step 2 through 10. Let us observe this exact dynamic through a practical case study based in 2026. Consider David, a certified public accountant based in Austin, Texas, who specializes in helping freelance software developers manage their quarterly tax obligations. For years, David offered a comprehensive 50-page digital guide on tax law as his primary lead magnet. It was a complete solution theoretically. However, his potential outcomes were disastrous. People downloaded the massive document, felt instantly overwhelmed by the sheer volume of technical information, procrastinated reading it, and never hired David for his actual accounting services. He gave them too much of the wrong kind of value, creating paralysis rather than action. David then strategically pivoted to the incomplete solution model. He removed the overwhelming guide and replaced it with a highly focused, automated quarterly estimated tax calculator built specifically for independent contractors. The freelancer simply inputs their gross income and business expenses, and the calculator instantly outputs their exact estimated tax liability for that specific quarter. This new lead magnet completely solved a massive, acute micro-problem. It eliminated the confusion of figuring out how much they owed right now. However, by solving that immediate pain point, the calculator perfectly illuminated the larger macro problem. The freelancer now knew exactly how much money they owed the Internal Revenue Service, but they still had to navigate the complex process of actually filing the paperwork, maximizing their deductions legally, and avoiding costly audit triggers. The calculator provided the exact diagnosis, but David's paid accounting services provided the customized cure. Historical trends within the financial services marketing sector demonstrate that offering diagnostic tools, rather than overwhelming informational textbooks, drastically increases back-end conversion rates. By utilizing this strategic incomplete solution, David transformed his email list from a stagnant database of non-buyers into a highly active pipeline of qualified leads who were actively seeking his professional implementation. To deploy this strategy effectively, you must construct a frictionless digital environment to house your lead magnet. This brings us to the architecture of your landing page, also known as the opt-in page. The most common mistake American small business owners make is sending paid or organic traffic directly to their primary website homepage and hoping the visitor eventually stumbles upon a small subscription box hidden in the footer. Imagine if you walked into a massive department store looking to buy a very specific brand of running shoes, but there were no signs, no floor staff, and 100 different aisles featuring everything from kitchen appliances to garden hoses. You would likely become frustrated and leave without making a purchase. Your homepage is that department store. It is full of distractions, navigation menus, About Us pages, and blog links. A dedicated landing page, conversely, is a locked room with only 2 doors. The visitor can either enter their email address to claim the asset, or they can close the browser window. There is absolutely no other option. When constructing this page, historical data emphasizes the critical necessity of removing all top and bottom navigation links. Every single clickable element on your landing page that does not lead to the email submission form is a leak in your digital bucket. You must aggressively eliminate the paradox of choice. The structure of this page should follow a precise psychological hierarchy. It begins with a pre-headline that calls out your specific target audience, immediately followed by a massive, benefit-driven headline that clearly states the exact outcome your lead magnet delivers. Beneath the headline, you deploy 3 to 5 highly compelling bullet points that leverage curiosity. You do not just list the features of the download, you explicitly state the hidden benefits. For example, instead of saying this document includes budget templates, you state that you will discover the exact budget reallocation strategy that saved one local agency thousands of dollars in wasted ad spend. Finally, the page must feature a highly visible, contrasting call to action button that uses active, possessive language. Instead of a generic submit button, the text should read "Send me my free calculator now." Once the visitor inputs their information and clicks that button, they are immediately redirected to the most underutilized piece of digital real estate on the entire internet, the thank you page. The vast majority of businesses completely waste this critical moment by simply displaying a generic message telling the user to check their inbox. This is a catastrophic missed opportunity. Imagine if a prospect walked up to you at a networking event, firmly shook your hand, explicitly told you they were interested in your expertise, and instead of continuing the conversation, you just turned around and walked out of the building silently. That is exactly what a blank thank you page does. At the exact moment a prospect submits their email, they are demonstrating peak psychological momentum and exceptionally high intent. They have just raised their hand and admitted they have a problem they want you to solve. Your thank you page must immediately capitalize on this momentum. While you must confirm that the lead magnet is indeed on its way to their inbox, you must immediately pivot to a secondary offer. This is where you introduce a low-cost tripwire product, invite them to schedule a complimentary consultation call, or direct them to subscribe to your flagship YouTube channel. You have their undivided attention for roughly 10 to 15 seconds. You must dictate the next logical step in their consumer journey. However, constructing the perfect incomplete solution, building a highly optimized landing page devoid of distractions, and engineering a masterful thank you page will all amount to absolutely nothing if you fail to navigate the most treacherous, invisible barrier in modern digital marketing. You can have the greatest ethical bribe in the world, but if your emails are quietly being diverted into a digital black hole by automated security algorithms, your list will remain completely barren and your business will suffer. There is a hidden, highly technical war happening inside the servers of major US inbox providers right now, and if you do not understand the rules of engagement, your domain will be permanently blacklisted before you even send your first broadcast. This hidden, highly technical war revolves entirely around domain reputation and email authentication. In 2026, massive US inbox providers like Gmail, Yahoo, and Apple Mail have completely rewritten the rules of digital communication. They have deployed incredibly sophisticated artificial intelligence algorithms designed with one singular purpose: to ruthlessly protect their users from spam, phishing attempts, and unsolicited marketing. If you attempt to send commercial email without establishing the proper digital credentials, these algorithms will not even bother routing your message to the spam folder. They will simply reject it at the server level, creating a hard bounce that immediately damages your sender score. Let us look at a catastrophic case study involving Sarah, an ambitious real estate broker operating in the highly competitive Chicago market. Sarah spent 3 months meticulously designing a stunning lead magnet, an interactive 2026 property valuation calculator. She invested $5,000 in targeted local advertising, driving thousands of prospective home sellers to her perfectly optimized landing page. Her conversion rate was phenomenal, and within weeks, she amassed an email list of over 2,000 highly qualified local leads. However, when she launched her carefully crafted welcome sequence, her analytics revealed a terrifying reality. Her open rate was a dismal 0.4%. The potential outcomes of her entire marketing campaign were completely obliterated, not because her content was poor, but because she completely ignored her technical infrastructure. Sarah had sent her commercial emails from a standard, free Gmail account rather than a verified custom domain, and she had failed to configure her authentication protocols. The major inbox providers instantly flagged her automated sequence as a massive security threat, permanently blacklisting her sender IP address and ensuring her emails never saw the light of day. To completely immunize your business against this exact scenario, you must master the 3 foundational pillars of email authentication before you ever invite a single subscriber to join your list. These pillars are strictly enforced technical standards that act as your digital passport. The first pillar is the Sender Policy Framework, commonly referred to as SPF. Imagine if you are hosting an exclusive, high-security corporate event in downtown Manhattan. You hire a strict security team at the front door and hand them a highly specific, immutable guest list. If someone arrives claiming to represent your company, but their name is not on that exact list, the security team denies them entry immediately. Your SPF record is that exact guest list. It is a line of code placed within your domain name system settings that explicitly tells inbox providers exactly which external servers and applications are legally authorized to send emails on behalf of your specific domain. If you are using a third-party email service provider, but fail to add their specific server address to your SPF record, receiving servers will instantly assume the email is a fraudulent spoofing attempt and block it entirely. The second mandatory pillar is Domain Keys Identified Mail, known throughout the industry as DKIM. While SPF verifies the identity of the sender, DKIM verifies the absolute integrity of the message itself. Imagine if you are sending a highly confidential legal contract through a courier service. To guarantee the document is not intercepted, altered, or forged during transit, you seal the envelope with a unique, tamper-proof wax seal that only you possess. DKIM operates on this exact same principle using complex cryptographic mathematics. When you send an email, your server attaches a hidden, encrypted signature to the header of the message. When the receiving server, such as Yahoo Mail, accepts the email, it uses a public key published in your domain records to decrypt and verify that signature. If the signature matches perfectly, the server knows the email genuinely originated from you and was not maliciously altered in transit. If you operate without DKIM in 2026, historical trends dictate that your emails will almost certainly be routed directly to the digital graveyard of the promotions or spam tabs. The third and most critical pillar, which became absolutely mandatory for bulk senders recently, is domain-based message authentication, reporting, and conformance, or DMARC. If SPF is the guest list and DKIM is the wax seal, DMARC is the precise instruction manual you hand to the security team dictating exactly what they must do if an email fails those first two tests. DMARC ties the first two protocols together and provides strict enforcement. You can configure your DMARC policy to instruct receiving servers to quarantine suspicious emails or outright reject them. More importantly, DMARC generates detailed daily forensic reports, sending data back to you so you can monitor exactly who is attempting to send mail on your behalf across the entire internet. Implementing a strict DMARC policy tells Google and Microsoft that you are a legitimate, responsible corporate entity that aggressively protects its domain reputation, which drastically elevates your overall deliverability score. Once you have meticulously configured your SPF, DKIM, and DMARC records, you face the next massive technical hurdle, the IP and domain warm-up process. This is where countless eager entrepreneurs completely destroy their lists on day one. Imagine if you walked into a major national bank where you have zero financial history, zero credit score, and zero established relationship, and you instantly demanded a $2 million unsecured business loan. The bank would reject you immediately because you possess no historical trust. The exact same principle applies to a brand new email domain. If you register a new domain, configure your authentication, and immediately attempt to broadcast 5,000 emails on the very first day, the algorithmic gatekeepers will instantly recognize this as deeply suspicious bot-like behavior. Spammers frequently buy new domains and blast massive volumes of mail before burning the domain and moving on. To avoid this catastrophic classification, you must execute a strategic algorithmic warm-up schedule. This process involves starting with an incredibly low sending volume, perhaps 20 to 50 emails on the first day, specifically targeting your most highly engaged personal contacts who you know will physically open the email, click the internal links, and reply to the message. You must actively engineer positive engagement signals. Every time a user opens your email, flags it as important, or replies, they are sending a highly valuable trust signal back to the algorithmic gatekeepers. Over the course of 3 to 4 weeks, you methodically and incrementally increase your daily sending volume by a marginal percentage, closely monitoring your bounce rates and spam complaints. You are effectively building a pristine digital credit score, proving to the inbox providers that your content is desperately wanted by the American consumer. By executing these complex technical configurations and adhering to a strict, disciplined warm-up schedule, you construct an impenetrable foundation for your digital communication strategy. You ensure that when you finally launch your highly optimized lead magnet, your ethical bribe actually lands squarely in the primary inbox, completely bypassing the aggressive spam filters that destroy your competitors. You have now built the perfect high-converting digital trap, engineered the psychology of the opt-in, and secured the technical infrastructure required for absolute deliverability. But a perfectly engineered machine is completely useless without fuel. Having the most compliant, authenticated, and persuasive email funnel on the internet means absolutely nothing if no one actually sees it. The immediate urgent challenge now shifts from technical infrastructure to aggressive, highly targeted audience acquisition. How do you find thousands of specific, highly motivated American consumers and systematically drive them to your isolated landing page without bankrupting your business on wildly expensive advertising campaigns? The answer lies in mastering a highly specific set of modern traffic generation protocols, which we must dissect right now. Without bankrupting your business on wildly expensive advertising campaigns, the answer lies in mastering a highly specific set of modern traffic generation protocols, which we must dissect right now. The single most destructive myth in the entire digital marketing industry is the belief that if you build a high-quality landing page, traffic will spontaneously materialize. You can engineer the most psychologically compelling lead magnet in the history of the United States internet, but if it sits on a hidden web page with 0 incoming links, it is functionally non-existent. Traffic generation in 2026 requires a deliberate, multi-channel approach that prioritizes high-intent visitors over meaningless vanity metrics. We will break this down into 3 distinct, actionable protocols, starting with the organic content waterfall. Imagine if you stood in the middle of the Mojave Desert handing out flyers for a new restaurant. It does not matter how incredible the food is. Your physical location guarantees your failure. You must go exactly where the attention of the American consumer currently pools, and right now, that attention is heavily concentrated within short-form vertical video platforms. But here is where most business owners fail completely. They create videos that are broadly entertaining, but lack any strategic mechanism to capture the viewer. Let us analyze a specific case study. Consider Michael, a licensed physical therapist operating a private clinic in Denver, Colorado. Michael wanted to build an email list of local residents who were actively experiencing physical discomfort. Initially, he posted generic videos demonstrating basic stretching techniques, ending each video by simply telling viewers to click the link in his bio to join his newsletter. The potential outcomes of this passive strategy were abysmal. Historical trends indicate that relying on a bio link creates far too much friction. The user has to close the video, navigate to his profile, click the link, wait for the page to load, and then enter their information. You lose a massive percentage of potential subscribers at every single one of those required steps. Michael completely overhauled his approach by deploying a platform-native keyword trigger strategy. Instead of a generic stretch, he created a hyper-targeted video titled the 30-second desk worker posture fix for remote employees. He demonstrated an immediate, highly effective physical adjustment. Then, instead of pointing to his bio, he explicitly told the viewer to comment the specific word posture below the video, and he would personally direct message them a hidden link to his complete, 20-page remote worker ergonomic workstation guide. This is where the exponential power of algorithmic traffic generation is unlocked. When hundreds of people began commenting that specific word, the social media platform algorithms registered a massive spike in active engagement. The platform interpreted this as highly valuable content and immediately pushed the video to thousands of more local viewers. Simultaneously, Michael utilized an approved third-party automation software connected directly to the platform application programming interface. The moment a user typed the keyword, the software instantly and automatically sent a private message to their inbox containing a direct link to his highly optimized, distraction-free landing page. He removed all friction, leveraged algorithmic momentum, and built a list of over 3,000 hyper-targeted local leads without spending a single penny on advertising. While organic traffic is incredibly powerful, it requires consistent time and sustained volume. If you need immediate, predictable, and scalable traffic, you must master the micro-commitment paid advertising protocol. The most common way small businesses bankrupt themselves in 2026 is by attempting to sell a core product or a high-ticket service directly to a completely cold audience through paid social media advertisements. They ask for a massive financial commitment from someone who has absolutely never heard of their brand. Let us look at Emily, a business-to-business software consultant based in Seattle. Emily helps mid-sized logistics companies integrate complex artificial intelligence inventory systems. A single consulting contract is worth over $50,000. If she ran an advertisement directly pitching that contract, her cost per acquisition would be astronomically high, likely draining her entire marketing budget before securing a single introductory phone call. Instead, Emily focused her advertising budget entirely on acquiring email addresses through a micro-commitment strategy. She developed a highly specific lead magnet, an automated 2026 warehouse efficiency diagnostic tool. She utilized professional networking platforms to run highly targeted advertisements, specifically showing her tool to operations managers and chief operating officers within the logistics sector strictly in the Pacific Northwest. Her ad copy did not mention her $50,000 consulting package. It simply highlighted the massive, urgent pain point of wasted capital due to supply chain bottlenecks, and offered her diagnostic tool as a completely free, immediate solution. Because the barrier to entry was merely an email address and a first name, the prospective clients felt zero financial risk. They clicked the advertisement, landed on her optimized page, and gladly exchanged their contact information for the diagnostic tool. Emily effectively acquired highly qualified, premium corporate leads for less than $15 each. She used paid traffic not to close a massive sale instantly, but to aggressively and predictably fill her email ecosystem with verified decision-makers who she could then nurture over time. The third traffic protocol, and perhaps the most underutilized strategy in the current landscape, is the cultivation of strategic partnerships to leverage other people's audiences. Imagine if you could bypass the time required to build organic traffic and the financial risk of paid advertising, and simply step directly in front of an established, highly engaged audience that perfectly matches your ideal customer profile. This involves identifying non-competing businesses that serve your exact demographic. For example, if you operate a business selling premium, organic dog food subscriptions, you would actively seek out popular dog training podcasts or established pet grooming newsletters. You propose a mutually beneficial value exchange, commonly known as a cross-promotion or a dedicated feature swap. You agree to highlight their complimentary service to your growing email list, and in return, they dedicate a section of their next broadcast to promoting your specific lead magnet. To execute this flawlessly, you must create a custom landing page exclusively for their audience. When you guest on a US-based podcast, you do not send listeners to your generic homepage. You tell them to go to your website.com/, the specific name of that podcast to download a custom resource created just for them. This creates deep contextual relevance, makes the host look fantastic for providing an exclusive bonus to their listeners, and historically generates opt-in conversion rates that absolutely dwarf standard, untargeted traffic sources. By aggressively deploying these three modern traffic protocols, you are actively opening the floodgates. The organic keyword strategies trigger algorithmic growth, the micro-commitment paid campaigns provide predictable volume, and the strategic partnerships deliver highly primed, warm leads. Suddenly, the complex digital architecture you have meticulously built is receiving a massive influx of precisely targeted American consumers. Your landing page is functioning flawlessly, your technical authentication ensures the emails are landing directly in the primary inbox, and your subscriber count is ticking upward every single hour. You have successfully solved the initial acquisition problem. However, this moment of initial triumph is a dangerous illusion. You have merely convinced them to open the front door, but you have not convinced them to stay inside the house. You have a maximum of maybe 5 to 10 seconds after they input their email address to prove your absolute worth. If the very first message they receive from you is generic, boring, or overly promotional, they will immediately hit the unsubscribe button, or worse, mark you as spam, destroying your domain reputation forever. The entire long-term profitability of your email list hinges entirely on the psychological engineering of your very first automated communication. The battle for the inbox is truly won or lost in the initial welcome sequence, a highly strategic, multi-day email campaign that we are going to completely deconstruct next. The welcome sequence is not merely a polite greeting. It is the most critical conversion window in your entire business model. Historical trends conclusively demonstrate that the very first email you send, often called the delivery email, will experience the highest open rate your brand will ever see, frequently exceeding 80%. The American consumer in 2026 is highly skeptical, deeply fatigued by digital noise, and armed with a highly aggressive spam button. When they hand over their email address, they are extending a fragile thread of trust. If you immediately sever that trust by blasting them with a generic sales pitch, the potential outcomes are devastating. Your sequence must be a meticulously choreographed 5-day journey that transforms a completely cold stranger into an active, engaged member of your digital ecosystem. Imagine if you walked into a high-end car dealership. If the salesperson immediately sprints toward you screaming the price of the most expensive vehicle on the lot, your natural instinct is to turn around and leave. But if they hand you a cold bottle of water, ask about your daily commute, and offer you a comfortable seat before ever mentioning a car, your defensive barriers lower. Your automated welcome sequence is that highly trained professional salesperson, working tirelessly 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Day 1 of this sequence begins the exact second the consumer hits the submit button on your landing page. This first email has one singular, uncompromising objective, which is to deliver the promised lead magnet flawlessly and without friction. Do not hide the download link at the very bottom of a massive, heavily formatted HTML email. In 2026, massive email providers heavily penalize overly complex designs. You must use a plain text format or an incredibly minimal design to ensure primary inbox placement. Your subject line must be undeniably clear, stating exactly what is inside so there is zero confusion. Inside the email, you provide the link immediately in the first sentence. But the true psychological engineering happens immediately after the link. You must deploy what is known as the expectation protocol. You explicitly tell the subscriber exactly what is going to happen next. You inform them that over the next 4 days, you will be sending them exclusive, high-value insights that are strictly reserved for your private email community. Most importantly, you end this first email with a strategic open loop. You tell them to watch their inbox tomorrow morning at exactly 9 Eastern Standard Time, because you are going to reveal the massive operational mistake most people make when trying to implement the specific guide they just downloaded. This actively trains the subscriber to anticipate your name in their inbox tomorrow. Day 2 is where the vast majority of your competitors fail entirely because they lack the courage to be human. This email is the epiphany bridge. People do not connect with faceless corporate entities. They connect with other humans who have experienced the exact same struggles they are currently facing. Let us examine a powerful case study featuring Jessica, an independent career consultant based in Atlanta, Georgia. Jessica helps mid-level corporate managers transition into executive roles. Her Day 2 email does not list her credentials or her university degrees. Instead, she tells a highly relatable, emotionally resonant story about the exact moment in 2019 when she was passed over for a major promotion, feeling completely invisible despite working 80-hour weeks. She then explains the specific epiphany she had that completely changed her trajectory, which seamlessly introduces the unique methodology she now teaches. By sharing this origin story, Jessica instantly neutralizes all skepticism. The subscriber reading this feels profoundly understood. They realize Jessica is not just an expert. She is a former peer who successfully navigated the exact treacherous path they are currently on. You must engineer your Day 2 email to showcase your vulnerability, clearly define the shared enemy, and position your brand as the expert guide who holds the map to their desired destination. By Day 3, you have successfully delivered the initial value and established a deep, personal connection. Now you must deploy the principle of unexpected reciprocity. Historical trends in consumer psychology show that when a business over-delivers without being prompted, the consumer feels a profound, subconscious obligation to return the favor. In Email 3, you surprise the subscriber with an unadvertised bonus. This should be a highly actionable micro-asset that perfectly complements the original lead magnet. If your initial ethical bribe was a financial planning template, your Day 3 unexpected bonus might be a hyper-specific checklist for organizing tax documents formatted specifically for American independent contractors. This completely shatters their expectations. They are used to businesses taking from them. You are relentlessly giving. Within this same email, you introduce a paradigm shift. You challenge a widely accepted, yet fundamentally flawed, belief within your specific industry. You educate them on why the traditional methods they have been using are failing them, and you introduce your proprietary framework as the only logical alternative. You are effectively tearing down their old belief systems and constructing a new intellectual foundation where your eventual product or service is the ultimate solution. Day 4 is the critical transition point where you pivot from pure education to the soft pitch. This is where the concept of the incomplete solution, which we engineered earlier, comes fully into play. You remind the subscriber of the massive value they have received over the past 3 days. You summarize the core problem they are facing and the strategic path required to solve it. Then you clearly articulate the massive divide between knowing what to do and actually possessing the time, resources, or specialized skills to execute it flawlessly. You introduce your core offer, whether it is a software subscription, a professional consulting package, or a physical product, not as a desperate plea for their money, but as the logical, frictionless next step for those who want to accelerate their results. You do not use aggressive, high-pressure tactics. You present the opportunity objectively, outlining the exact potential outcomes and providing a clear, direct link to your sales page. The tone is strictly educational and consultative. You are simply offering the customized cure to the exact diagnosis you have been discussing all week. Day 5 concludes the primary welcome sequence with a final, definitive call to action and a transition into your long-term broadcast ecosystem. You provide a final summary of the core offer, perhaps introducing a powerful case study of a past client who achieved remarkable success using your exact methodology. But more importantly, you must establish the ongoing rules of engagement. You inform the subscriber about the exact frequency of your future communications, whether they should expect a deep dive essay every Tuesday or a short actionable tip every Friday. You are setting the operational cadence. If executed correctly, this 5-day sequence will completely transform your list from a sterile database into a highly profitable, deeply engaged community of enthusiastic buyers. However, acquiring the subscriber and successfully navigating the welcome sequence is only the beginning of the war. As your list grows into the tens of thousands, a silent, highly destructive force begins to accumulate within your database. This invisible decay will slowly suffocate your deliverability, cause your open rates to plummet, and eventually trigger massive spam penalties from inbox providers, regardless of how incredible your content is. To survive the long game, you must master the ruthless, unforgiving science of list hygiene and algorithmic pruning, a highly technical defensive strategy that we must uncover immediately. To survive the long game, you must master the ruthless, unforgiving science of list hygiene and algorithmic pruning, a highly technical defensive strategy that we must uncover immediately. The invisible decay attacking your database is known throughout the industry as list churn and algorithmic degradation. In 2026, major inbox providers like Gmail, Apple Mail, and Yahoo do not simply look at how many emails you send, they obsessively monitor the exact percentage of people who actually interact with those emails. They measure your open rates, your click-through rates, and your reply rates to determine your overall sender reputation. If you possess a massive list of 100,000 American subscribers, but only 2,000 of them consistently open your emails, the artificial intelligence governing the inbox classifies you as a low-quality sender, pushing irrelevant content. Your domain reputation slowly bleeds out, and eventually, even the highly engaged 2,000 subscribers will stop seeing your messages because the algorithm will automatically route everything you send straight to the spam folder. Let us analyze a terrifying case study that illustrates the catastrophic danger of ignoring list hygiene. Meet Robert, an independent financial researcher and newsletter publisher based in Chicago. By early 2026, Robert had amassed a staggering database of over 250,000 email addresses. He treated his list like a digital hoarding experiment, operating under the dangerous misconception that a larger list automatically equaled a more valuable business. He refused to delete a single contact, even those who had not opened an email since 2022. Historical trends in his data showed his average open rates dropping steadily from a healthy 22% down to a fatal 3%. He completely ignored the decay, focusing only on the vanity metric of his total subscriber count. Then absolute disaster struck. The major internet service providers converted several of his oldest, abandoned email addresses into pristine spam traps. You must understand the severe mechanics of a spam trap. A spam trap is a decoy email address managed strictly by anti-spam organizations and internet service providers. There are two primary types you will encounter. The first is a recycled spam trap, which is an email address that was once owned by a real human being but was abandoned. After a period of inactivity, the provider takes ownership of the address. If you send an email to a recycled trap, it proves to the provider that you are not actively cleaning your list and are blasting outdated data. The second and far more lethal is the pristine spam trap. This is an email address created by the provider that has never belonged to a real person and has never opted into any list anywhere on the internet. The only way a pristine spam trap ends up on your list is if you scrape the internet for emails or purchased a shady third-party database. When Robert emailed these traps, the algorithms immediately flagged his entire domain as a malicious spam operation. Within 48 hours, his overall deliverability plummeted to absolute zero. His entire business operations were effectively paralyzed because he valued the vanity metric of total subscribers over the active metric of engaged subscribers. To prevent your business from becoming a digital casualty like Robert, you must ruthlessly implement behavioral segmentation. You must instruct your email service provider to create a dynamic, automated segment that continuously filters your audience. The industry standard in 2026 is the 90-day rule. If a subscriber has not opened a single email, clicked a single link, or replied to a single message within the last 90 consecutive days, they are automatically moved into the unengaged segment. Imagine if you owned a premium, physical retail store on a busy American Main Street. Imagine if a person walked into your store every single day for 3 solid months, stared blankly at the wall, completely ignored you when you spoke to them, and never purchased a single item. You would eventually ask them to leave your property to make room for actual paying customers who value your time and inventory. Your email list operates on the exact same logical framework. You are paying a monthly fee to host those unengaged contacts, and they are actively destroying your ability to reach the people who actually want to buy from you. Before you permanently delete this unengaged segment, you must execute one final, highly strategic automated sequence known as the win-back campaign. This is a sequence of 3 precise emails designed to act as a massive emotional pattern interrupt. Email 1 of this sequence should feature a radically simple, plain text format with a subject line that generates immediate curiosity, such as a quick question regarding your current subscription status. Inside, you plainly and honestly state that you noticed they have not been reading the material lately, and you ask if they still want to receive your proprietary insights. You provide a single, highly visible link for them to click to verify they want to remain on the active list. The moment they click that link, your automation software must instantly pull them out of the unengaged segment and reset their 90-day activity timer. If they ignore the first email, you deploy the second email 48 hours later. This email provides a massive, unexpected piece of upfront value. You offer them your absolute newest lead magnet, a highly requested data report, or a private video masterclass entirely for free, requiring only one click to access the asset. You are leveraging the principle of overwhelming value to jolt them out of their digital apathy. Finally, if they ignore the second email, you deploy email 3. This is the breakup email. The subject line must be definitive, explicitly stating that this is their final communication. You politely inform the subscriber that you are actively removing inactive contacts to maintain high deliverability speeds and to respect their digital inbox space. You provide one absolute last chance to click a link and stay. If they do not interact with that final link within 24 hours, you must execute the most emotionally difficult but statistically necessary action in modern digital marketing. You permanently delete them from your entire database. Trimming 10,000 or 50,000 inactive subscribers off your list might feel like a massive financial loss, especially considering the advertising capital you spent to acquire them initially. However, historical data proves the exact opposite is true. By permanently removing the dead weight, your open rates will artificially skyrocket overnight because you are now measuring your engagement against a smaller, perfectly refined denominator of highly active prospects. The complex artificial intelligence algorithms at Google and Apple immediately register this massive spike in percentage engagement. They interpret this data as proof that your content is incredibly valuable, and they instantly reward your domain by granting premium, primary inbox placement for your remaining active buyers. You are sacrificing vanity for extreme operational profitability. You now possess a pristine, highly engaged, beautifully segmented list of American consumers. You are successfully generating targeted traffic, delivering an overwhelming amount of value through your welcome sequence, and expertly avoiding the dreaded spam traps through aggressive list hygiene. But there is a massive looming threat that sits far above the technical algorithms of any inbox provider. It is the incredibly strict, constantly evolving regulatory landscape of the United States federal government. If you make a single operational misstep in your footer text, your opt-out procedures, or your data handling protocols, you are not just risking your domain reputation. You are risking catastrophic federal financial penalties that can instantly bankrupt your entire business model. We must now navigate the perilous legal requirements of email marketing in the U.S., dissecting the precise regulatory rules you must follow to avoid massive compliance fines and legal action, which we will deeply analyze next. In 2026, operating an email list in the United States without a fundamental understanding of federal and state compliance is akin to driving a high-performance sports car blindfolded. You might accelerate rapidly, but a catastrophic crash is mathematically inevitable. The primary governing body regulating commercial email is the Federal Trade Commission, enforcing a piece of legislation known as the Controlling the Assault of Non-Solicited Pornography and Marketing Act, commonly referred to as the CAN-SPAM Act. This is not a set of polite suggestions. It is a rigid federal law carrying maximum civil penalties of over $50,000 for every single non-compliant email sent. If you broadcast a non-compliant message to a list of 10,000 subscribers, the potential outcomes involve fines that can permanently dismantle your company and liquidate your personal assets. We must dissect the 4 non-negotiable pillars of legal email marketing to build a completely bulletproof compliance shield around your operations. Let us examine a sobering case study from early 2026. Consider Thomas, a rapid-growth e-commerce entrepreneur based in Miami, Florida. Thomas sold premium nutritional supplements and aggressively grew his email list using sensationalist tactics. To spike his open rates, he began using highly deceptive subject lines. He would prep-end his promotional marketing emails with the letters RE followed by a colon, making it appear as though the message was an ongoing personal reply to an earlier conversation. He also utilized subject lines claiming a massive billing error had occurred on the subscriber's account. When the terrified American consumer opened the email, they found a standard advertisement for a vitamin bundle. Thomas thought he was an absolute marketing genius because his open rates doubled overnight. However, historical trends consistently prove that deception triggers aggressive consumer retaliation. Thousands of recipients immediately reported his emails directly to the Federal Trade Commission and major inbox providers. Because his subject lines fundamentally misrepresented the commercial nature of the content, Thomas was found in direct violation of federal law. His payment processors dropped him, his domain was permanently blacklisted globally, and his entire business collapsed under the weight of severe regulatory scrutiny. Your subject line must clearly and honestly reflect the content of the email. You can use deep psychological curiosity, you can use high-stakes framing, but you can never use outright deception. The second non-negotiable pillar is absolute transparency regarding your physical location. Federal law mandates that every single commercial email you broadcast must include your valid, physical postal address. This cannot be hidden in a complex terms of service document hosted on a separate website. It must be clearly visible, typically situated at the absolute bottom footer of your daily email template. Imagine if a stranger walked up to you on the street, attempted to sell you a complex financial service, but aggressively refused to tell you what city they operated in or where their corporate office was located. You would instantly identify them as a fraudulent threat and walk away. The federal government views anonymous digital marketers through the exact same lens. If you operate a home-based digital business and understandably do not want to broadcast your private residential address to 50,000 strangers on the internet, you must rent a post office box or utilize a registered commercial mail receiving agency. This simple, low-cost compliance step legitimizes your business in the eyes of the law and the inbox algorithms, proving you are a verified, accountable American entity. The third pillar governs the absolute freedom of the consumer to sever the digital relationship, legally defined as the opt-out mechanism. You must provide a clear, highly conspicuous, and easily readable way for subscribers to opt out of getting future emails from you. You cannot bury the unsubscribe link in a microscopic font. You cannot make the text the exact same color as the background of the email, and you cannot require the user to log into an account or navigate through a complex maze of web pages to manually remove their data. In 2026, the baseline legal standard is a frictionless, one-click unsubscribe process. Furthermore, when a consumer requests to be removed, federal law requires you to honor that opt-out request strictly within 10 business days. However, modern historical trends dictate that waiting 10 days is operational suicide. If a consumer clicks unsubscribe and still receives a promotional email from you 3 days later, they will instantly hit the spam button. You must ensure your email service provider is configured to process all opt-out requests instantaneously. The exact moment they click that link, they must be completely and permanently removed from your active broadcasting queues without any further intervention required on your part. While federal law provides the foundational baseline, the legal landscape in 2026 has become exponentially more complex due to sweeping state-level privacy legislation. You cannot simply view your database as a monolithic list. You are building a database of specific individuals residing in states like California, Virginia, and Colorado, which possess their own highly aggressive data protection frameworks. The California Consumer Privacy Act, for instance, grants its state residents the absolute right to know exactly what personal data you are collecting, the right to delete that data entirely, and the right to specifically opt out of the sale or sharing of their personal information. If you run a lead generation business where your entire business model revolves around collecting email addresses and selling those highly qualified leads to third-party insurance brokers, legal firms, or mortgage lenders, you must implement strict, prominent disclosures on your initial opt-in landing page. You must explicitly inform the consumer exactly how their data will be monetized before they ever hit the submit button. Failing to provide these proactive disclosures and opt-out mechanisms can trigger massive state-level legal action, completely independent of federal oversight, resulting in fines that scale rapidly based on the number of residents affected. Navigating this regulatory minefield requires absolute operational discipline. You must conduct comprehensive quarterly audits of your entire email infrastructure, meticulously verifying that your footers are compliant, your unsubscribe links are fully functional across all devices, and your data collection practices align seamlessly with the most aggressive state laws in the country. By strictly adhering to these compliance pillars, you are not merely avoiding punitive fines. You are actively constructing a permanent, high-trust digital asset. You have established a legal, highly secure pipeline directly into the personal inboxes of thousands of highly qualified American consumers. Your technical foundation is flawless, your deliverability is pristine, your list hygiene is operating with surgical precision, and your legal framework is impenetrable. But an impenetrable pipeline is completely useless if you do not know how to craft the precise words that travel through it. You now possess the undivided attention of the audience, but how do you actually persuade them to take action? How do you write an email that commands absolute authority in a crowded inbox, psychologically compels the reader to consume every single sentence, and ultimately drives them to pull out their credit card and purchase your core offer? The entire financial return of your massive email ecosystem now hinges entirely on mastering the deeply psychological art of direct response copywriting, a highly specialized linguistic framework that we are going to completely deconstruct right now. The deeply psychological art of direct response copywriting is the final variable that determines whether your email list generates massive, predictable revenue or becomes a stagnant financial drain. You can possess the most legally compliant, technically flawless, and aggressively scrubbed database in the United States, but if your words fail to move the reader, your potential outcomes will remain at absolute zero. Copywriting is not about being overly clever, using massive academic vocabulary, or winning literary awards. It is the calculated science of using specific linguistic structures to predictably alter human behavior. In 2026, the American consumer is reading your email on a high-definition mobile screen while standing in line at a coffee shop, actively looking for a reason to hit the delete button. You have roughly 3 seconds to hijack their attention, and it all begins with the single most important piece of real estate in the entire digital marketing industry, the subject line. Imagine if you wrote a masterpiece of a sales letter, sealed it in a blank envelope, and threw it into a pile of junk mail. Nobody would ever read it. Your subject line is the envelope. Historical trends across billions of sent emails reveal that nearly 50% of subscribers decide whether to open an email based solely on the subject line. Let us look at a highly specific case study involving Mark, a certified financial planner operating a boutique wealth management firm in Boston. For years, Mark sent his weekly broadcast with the subject line, Weekly Financial Update Volume 42. His open rates hovered around a dismal 12%. The emails were packed with brilliant, actionable tax strategies, but nobody saw them because the subject line was entirely devoid of urgency, curiosity, or benefit. Mark completely overhauled his strategy by applying the principle of the blind benefit. He changed his subject line to the specific tax loophole costing Massachusetts business owners thousands this quarter. The results were instantaneous. His open rate skyrocketed to over 40%. The new subject line identified a specific avatar, hinted at a massive pain point, and created a burning curiosity gap that could only be closed by opening the email. Once the subscriber clicks the subject line, they encounter the preview text and the opening sentence, technically known as the lead. The lead has one uncompromising job, which is to force the subscriber to read the second sentence. The most catastrophic mistake novice marketers make is starting their emails with generic corporate pleasantries, such as "I hope this email finds you well." This instantly signals to the brain that this is a low-value, automated broadcast. Instead, you must open with a pattern interrupt. You start in the middle of a high-stakes story, you state a highly controversial industry opinion, or you ask a deeply probing question that highlights a severe problem. You must immediately validate the promise you made in the subject line, while simultaneously pulling the reader deeper into the narrative. This brings us to the core architecture of the email body, utilizing a proven psychological framework known as problem, agitation, solution. This framework is responsible for driving billions of dollars in digital sales because it mirrors the exact emotional journey required for a human being to make a purchasing decision. Step 1 is the problem. You must clearly and precisely articulate the exact pain point your subscriber is currently experiencing. You cannot be vague. If you are selling a software that helps logistics companies manage inventory, you do not just say inventory is hard. You say you are losing 10% of your monthly profit to phantom stock that sits in your warehouse collecting dust, while your best-selling items are constantly backordered. When you describe their problem with greater clarity than they can describe it themselves, they automatically assume you hold the solution. Step 2 is the agitation phase. And this is where most American entrepreneurs fail because they are terrified of making their audience uncomfortable. Agitation is the absolute key to conversion. You must take the problem and pour digital salt into the wound. You extrapolate the long-term consequences of failing to solve the issue. Imagine if you are selling a high-ticket career coaching program. The problem is they are stuck in mid-level management. The agitation is the realization that in 5 years, they will still be in the exact same cubicle, watching younger, less experienced employees get promoted past them, while inflation completely destroys their purchasing power and their retirement timeline stretches into their late 70s. You are bringing the future pain into the present moment. You must make the pain of remaining the same far greater than the pain of paying for your product. Only after you have thoroughly agitated the problem do you execute step 3, the solution. This is where you introduce your product, your service, or your consultation call as the logical, inevitable cure to the massive pain you just illuminated. You transition smoothly from the emotional agitation into the logical benefits of your offer. You present case studies of other clients who were trapped in the exact same agonizing situation and used your proprietary methodology to achieve massive, undeniable success. However, the entire problem agitation solution framework will completely collapse if you do not adhere to the strict physical formatting rules of modern email consumption. In 2026, massive blocks of text are a death sentence. When a consumer opens an email and sees a dense, unbroken paragraph of 10 sentences, their brain immediately registers it as manual labor, and they will delete it instantly. You must format your copy for the scanner. This means utilizing incredibly short sentences. One-sentence paragraphs are not only acceptable, they are mandatory for high conversion. You must incorporate massive amounts of white space, utilizing bullet points to break down complex ideas, and ensuring that your font size is large enough to be easily read on a small mobile device without zooming. You are engineering a frictionless visual slide that pulls the eye directly down the screen toward the final critical element, the call to action. The call to action is the ultimate moment of truth. Historical trends demonstrate that emails containing multiple, conflicting calls to action suffer from drastically reduced click-through rates due to a psychological phenomenon called decision fatigue. If you ask the reader to read your blog post, follow you on social media, subscribe to your podcast, and buy your product all in the same email, they will become overwhelmed and do absolutely nothing. The golden rule of direct response copywriting is the rule of one. Every single email you send must focus on one single core idea, targeting one specific avatar, and driving them toward one singular, highly visible call to action link. Instead of using weak, passive language like click here or learn more, your call to action must be a direct, possessive command. It must clearly state the exact transformation they will receive when they click, such as download your 2026 tax optimization blueprint now. By mastering the subject line, engineering a compelling lead, executing the problem agitation solution framework, formatting for aggressive scanning, and commanding a singular call to action, you transform your email copy from a passive communication tool into an active, high-converting sales engine. You have now built the entire foundational ecosystem. You have the technical infrastructure, the traffic, the legal compliance, the hygiene protocols, and the copywriting mastery. But up until this point, we have only discussed manual foundational growth. What happens when your business scales? How do you manage 10,000, 50,000, or 100,000 subscribers without completely losing your mind and working 20 hours a day? The answer lies in the highly advanced, algorithmic world of behavioral automation and predictive tagging. This is the ultimate echelon of email marketing where artificial intelligence takes over your sales process, triggering hyper-personalized campaigns based on exactly what a subscriber clicks, reads, and ignores. This complex, automated matrix is the absolute secret to scaling your revenue infinitely without increasing your workload, and we are going to completely demystify this final critical architecture next. The era of the mass email broadcast is completely dead. In 2026, if you are treating your database as a single monolithic entity and sending the exact same message to every single person at the exact same time, you are actively suffocating your own growth. Imagine if you walked into a massive auditorium filled with 10,000 people. Some of these people just met you 3 minutes ago, some have been studying your free material for 6 months, and some have already paid you thousands of dollars for your premium services. If you stood on stage and delivered the exact same generic introductory speech to that entire room, The beginners might be slightly interested, but the veterans and the high-ticket buyers would be incredibly insulted and walk out the door immediately. Your email list operates on the exact same psychological principle. You cannot speak to a cold prospect using the same linguistic framework you use to speak to a multi-time buyer. To maximize your potential outcomes, you must deploy behavioral automation, a highly sophisticated tracking system that monitors every single digital footprint your subscriber leaves and automatically alters your marketing strategy in real time based strictly on their individual behavior. Let us examine the profound power of this architecture through a highly detailed case study. Consider Amanda, a highly sought-after business operations consultant based in Dallas, Texas. In early 2026, Amanda was completely exhausted. She had successfully built an email list of over 40,000 active subscribers, but she was manually writing and scheduling 3 different emails every single week, trying desperately to appeal to everyone. Her list consisted of absolute beginners who needed basic time management templates, and advanced corporate executives who needed complex, high-ticket supply chain optimization. By trying to serve both audiences simultaneously in the same broadcast, her messaging became completely diluted, and her conversion rates plummeted. Amanda then implemented a strict behavioral tagging protocol. She stopped sending generic blasts and started engineering link triggers. In her next broadcast, she wrote a compelling educational piece about operational efficiency and placed 3 distinct links at the bottom of the email. Link 1 offered a free download about basic scheduling. Link 2 offered a sophisticated white paper on artificial intelligence inventory management. Link 3 led directly to an application for her $10,000 private consulting tier. When a subscriber clicked Link 1, the automation software silently attached an invisible digital tag to their profile labeled Beginner Operations. If they clicked Link 2, they received an advanced corporate tag. If they clicked Link 3, they received a highly qualified buyer tag. Amanda was no longer guessing what her audience wanted. They were explicitly telling her through their physical actions. This is where the automation matrix truly takes control. Based on those newly acquired tags, the software automatically and instantly branched those subscribers into 3 entirely different, highly customized automated sequences. The beginner received a 5-day educational sequence nurturing them toward a low-cost, $49 introductory video course. The advanced executive was immediately removed from all low-ticket promotions and entered a sequence providing massive, high-level data reports, positioning Amanda as an elite industry peer. The highly qualified buyer who clicked the application link was instantly routed to a dedicated sales representative, who called them on the phone within 15 minutes. By segmenting her audience based on actual behavioral data, Amanda drastically reduced her manual workload while historical trends in her business showed a massive, sustained spike in overall revenue. But basic tagging is only the foundational layer of behavioral automation. To truly engineer a viral, highly profitable US channel ecosystem, you must master the science of predictive lead scoring. Lead scoring is an advanced algorithmic protocol where your email service provider assigns numerical point values to every single action a subscriber takes, effectively gamifying the entire sales process behind the scenes. Imagine you assign 1 point every time a subscriber simply opens an email. You assign 5 points if they click a link to read a blog post. You assign 20 points if they visit the pricing page on your main website, and you deduct 10 points if they ignore your emails for 14 consecutive days. The system continuously tallies these points in the background, building a highly accurate, real-time temperature gauge for every single human being on your list. You then establish strict automation rules based on these mathematical thresholds. For example, you can program the system so that the exact second a subscriber crosses the 100-point threshold, they are automatically sent an extremely exclusive, highly personalized email offering them a complimentary one-on-one consultation call or a massive discount on your flagship product. They receive this offer at the precise moment their psychological interest and engagement are at their absolute peak. Conversely, if a subscriber's score drops below 0, the system automatically shifts them into a re-engagement sequence designed to win back their attention before they become a permanent deliverability liability. You are no longer relying on hope or intuition. You are letting raw mathematical data dictate exactly when and how you pitch your products. Furthermore, this rich behavioral data allows you to deploy the most powerful conversion mechanism in modern digital marketing, which is dynamic content generation. You no longer need to write 3 separate emails for 3 separate segments. You write one single master email, but you instruct the software to dynamically alter specific paragraphs, images, and call-to-action buttons based entirely on the hidden tags the reader possesses. When the beginner opens the email on Tuesday morning, they see a glowing testimonial from a student who just started their journey and a button leading to your basic course. When the advanced corporate executive opens that exact same email 5 seconds later, the software instantly swaps out the beginner testimonial for a complex corporate case study, and the button redirects them to your premium consulting application. The American consumer feels like you are speaking directly to their specific, highly unique situation, which creates an impenetrable bond of trust and dramatically accelerates their purchasing timeline. By engineering this complex matrix of behavioral tagging, predictive lead scoring, and dynamic content manipulation, you transition your business from a manual, exhausting hustle into a highly scalable, predictable, and fully automated financial machine. You have successfully navigated the entire treacherous landscape of building an email list from absolute scratch in the highly competitive United States market. You understand the profound psychology of the initial opt-in. You have mastered the complex technical infrastructure required for absolute deliverability. You know how to aggressively drive high-intent traffic, and you have deployed the ruthless list hygiene required to survive the long game. You have transformed a completely cold stranger into a highly engaged, ravenous buyer using the scientifically proven framework of direct response copywriting. You now possess the ultimate digital asset, a completely independent, algorithm-proof distribution channel that you own and control entirely. You have insulated your family and your business against the unpredictable, catastrophic changes of rented social media platforms. You hold the direct line of communication to thousands of people who are actively waiting to give you their capital in exchange for your expertise. However, having a massively engaged, highly optimized email list is only half of the equation. You have built the perfect distribution pipeline, but the ultimate profitability of that pipeline is entirely dependent on the structural integrity and the pricing psychology of the specific products you push through it. How do you ascend a buyer who just purchased a $50 introductory course into a highly lucrative, $10,000 mastermind client without triggering massive refund requests or destroying their trust? Constructing this high-ticket back-end offer requires a completely different psychological framework and a highly specialized sales architecture, one that we will dissect meticulously in the next masterclass.